Hi, welcome to solving two-step equations. The first thing that we want to do is we want to look at the equal sign, like there's a problem here and there's a problem on this side. And we want to locate the variable, which is on the left, and we want to get this variable by itself. So we want the variable to be next to the equal sign, but in between this term and the equal sign is a positive 7 or a plus 7. So I'm going to do the opposite, which would be minus 7 on both sides of my equation. I'm going to drop down my 3x. These become 0. So 3x plus 0 is 3x. And then I'm going to combine these, which is negative 12. Now, I do have my x and my equal sign. There's nothing in between. So I've eliminated everything, so I can just look at the x term. So how is the 3 attached to the x? It's attached through multiplication, so I'm going to do the opposite, which is division. And I'm going to divide both sides by 3. This becomes 1, and 1 times x is x. And then negative 12 divided by 3 is negative 4. Now, let's say that we wanted to check our answer. I'm going to go back to the original equation. I'm going to write it here. And then we just said that x was negative 4. So I'm going to plug that in for x. So it would be 3 times negative 4 plus 7 equals negative 5. And 3 times 4 is 12, and it's negative, plus 7 equals negative 5. And yes, negative 5 equals negative 5. So that means that my solution for x was correct. Let's try another one. In this problem, again, we want to look at the equal sign and we want to focus either on the left or the right, and we want to find the side that has the variable, so that's the left side. I want to make sure that I've isolated this term. Is there anything over here on the left? And yes, there is. There's a minus 3. So I'm going to do the opposite. And I'm going to plus 3 on both sides of the equals. I'm going to drop down my x over 2 term. That becomes 0. And 5 plus 3 is 8. Now, I want to solve for x. 2 is attached to x through division. So I'm going to do the opposite, which is multiplication. So I use the multiplication dot. These cancel out, become 1. And 1 times x is x. And then 8 times 2 is 16. Now let's say that I want to check that. I'm going to write my original equation. And we said x is 16. So I'm going to take that and plug that in for x. So I've got 16 divided by 2 minus 3 equals 5. 16 divided by 2 is 8. And 8 minus 3. And then I get 5 equals 5. And if this comes out true, then it means that you've solved correctly for x. It's always a good idea to check your work or to know how to check your work. And actually, you should continue your check straight on down and just keep all the equal signs lined up. I would do that, but I'd run out of board space. Let's try another one. In this problem, again, we want to look at the left side of the equal and the right side. The variable term is on the right side. We want to make sure this is the only thing over here on the right side of the equal. And it's not. There's a 6 and it's positive, so I'm going to do the opposite. Subtract 6 on both sides. This becomes 2 equals negative 2m. Now, the negative 2 is attached to the m through multiplication, so to undo that, I'm going to divide through, which is the opposite, by exactly what was in front of the m. So I'm going to take the negative with the 2 on both sides. This cancels out and becomes 1, and 1 times m is m, and 2 negatives make a positive, so I don't have to look at that side anymore. Now I can just focus on the left. 2 divided by 2 is 1. And my rule is count the negative signs. If you count an odd number of negatives, then your answer is negative. Now, if I wanted to check this, I go back to my original equation. And we just said that m equals negative 1. So I'm going to plug it in right here. 2 times negative 1. I'm going to rewrite. So this would be 2 times -1 is -2, but there's a minus sign waiting in front of it. So that makes it positive, and then I get 8 equals 8. Let's try one more. In this problem, we want to focus in on the variable on the right side. It's not the only term. There's also a -21. I want to isolate this term right here, and so I'm going to take the opposite, and I'm going to drop down my term with the variable, line up my equals. These are different signs, so I'm going to subtract. 21 minus 3 is 18. And now, how is my 4 attached to the W? Through division, so I'm going to do the opposite, which is multiply both sides by 4. And I'm going to get W equals 4 times 8 is 32, carry my 3, and that would be 72. Now, if we wanted to check the work, we would write the original equation and then replace W with the 72. And that would be 18 minus 21, and then we would get -3 equals -3, and that's true. And since that's a true statement, we know that we solved correctly for our variable, which is W. And this is solving two-step equations. Thanks a lot for checking out my site and watch my other videos online.